Hey, what's going on, world? It's me again, Ethan Smith, aka Mr. P.I.E.N. Another daily dose positive post, or what I like to call my word Wednesday, man. My word for Wednesday, or my message for Wednesday, is the word wait, man. Not in wait as in lifting weights, but wait as in be patient. Take your time, man. I'm not for sure the exact definition of the word wait, but I'm gonna make sure I look it up so I can give you the accurate description of what the word wait means, so you can understand where I'm coming from when I give you this message and why I decided to do just that. Wait, man. So be patient with me for one quick second, and I'll give you exactly what I want you to hear in my message for today. So according to Webster's dictionary or Google dictionary, the word wait means stay where one is or delay action until a particular time or until something else happens. Stay where one is or delay action until a particular time or until something else happens. What am I waiting on, man? Something that I thought I would never wait for in my life. Something that I thought I would never do in my life. Something I didn't think I had the capability to do in my life. I've been married twice, and I've said this before. My first wife was the love of my life. Second wife, she wasn't a bad person. She wasn't a bad woman. She just wasn't the woman for me. I made the decision to get into that marriage because I felt like I was chasing for something as for myself as a man. Like I had to prove something to myself as a man. I had to prove that I could be a good husband because I failed in my first marriage. And the reason I failed in my first marriage because I wasn't honest in my first marriage. Not only was I not honest with my wife at the time, I wasn't honest with myself about who I was or where I was at in my life. But fast forward to being divorced twice, knowing who I am now and where God has called me to be and where I choose to be and what I choose to do in my life, I decided that as a man, it's best for me to wait. Wait for what? I decided that I'm going to wait till I'm married again, till I ever have sex again. Now, I don't know how long that wait may take, and I don't know what that process will feel like to wait that amount of time. But I do know I have the capability to wait and not carry that weight of the world on my shoulders or feeling like that sex is what I need or is all I need to define me or who I am as a man. Because see, when I was younger and I was having sex, I felt like sex was what identified me, who I was, or who I needed to be. I felt like sex was what validated me. I felt like I was good at sex, and I felt like if I was good at sex that people would appreciate me more or want to be around me more. But I lost a lot of me in having sex with multiple people throughout my life. I've had sex a number of times, and I've had more partners than I needed to ever have in my life. And having more partners and having sex that wasn't beneficial for me spiritually or emotionally, I understand now that I'm not defined by sex. I've had numerous amounts of sex, I believe, for me, but I've only truly had sex or made love one time in my life. I've had numerous amounts of sex, I like to believe, but I've only truly had sex one time in my life. And when I say truly had sex one time in my life, whereas I felt I understood and I knew what sex was designed for, and the reason that you should wait until marriage. And that one time that I did have sex, that I felt I had sex, where I felt it emotionally, where I felt it spiritually, not only physically as a man, was when I was married with my first wife, which was the love of my life and things of that nature. But I said that to say this. Waiting for sex for me is probably one of the toughest decisions I thought that I would have to make in my life. But at the same time, it was one of the easiest decisions. Because, see, I believe that anything that you put your mind to, you can do. I used to tell myself that that decision would be hard. But it's only hard if you make yourself believe it's hard. At least for me. I've went without sex before. Now, granted, I was overseas. You know, I was deployed to Iraq. I was deployed to Egypt. But that doesn't mean that sex wasn't available, because if I wanted it, it was available to happen. Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't have had to work for it, but it wasn't what I wanted, because I had made up in my mind, for one, I was married, and for two, I wasn't looking to have sex when I was over there. So I just kind of put that thing out of my mind and focused my mind somewhere else. But now, as a 40-year-old man, where I'm here in Austin, Texas, where I have the capability and the physical ability to have sex, spiritually, emotionally, I don't have that capability. I don't have that ability, or I don't have that desire to give myself away sexually if it's unfulfilled sex, if it's an unfulfilled feeling. See, no longer do you have to live behind sex. No longer do you have to live behind fake love, using sex as an excuse for love. Sex doesn't equate to love. Plenty of people have had meaningless sex. And for what? Like, what did you accomplish in the end is what I ask myself. How many of you been there if you had sex and before you got into sex, you knew you shouldn't have been doing it, but you did it anyway and you felt worse afterwards? As a man, I've been there. But see, as a man, I completely understand, in order for me to be the man that God is calling me to be, it's some things that I needed to separate out of my life. And sex is another one of those obstacles or hurdles that I have to maneuver my way around. And it's possible, and I know it's possible because I've done it before, and I believe it's possible. I believe it in my mind first, and I see it, and I feel it. I feel it in my spirit, and I'm okay with this in my spirit, that I can go without sex until I get married again. And not only I can go without sex until I get married again for me, I can do it for the woman that I intend to marry. Because see, I want that woman to know that she's more valuable to me than just sex. I want that woman to know that she's more valuable to me than just her body. I want her to know that I'm in touch with her mind and her intellect as well as I am in touch with her body. I want that woman to know that when I tell her she's beautiful, I'm telling her that she's beautiful, not because of the way she looks or what she's wearing or how she smells or how she feels when I touch her. I want that woman to know that she's beautiful to me because of her spirituality, who she is as a person, who she called to be by God. See, men, sometimes we often want women to, we think about that part in the Bible, and I believe it's in Ephesians. We think about that verse in the Bible where it said a wife submits to her husband, but we often miss the part where it says a man's supposed to submit to God. So how can you expect someone to submit to you if you can't submit to God? If I can't submit to God and submit sex to God, then how can I expect a woman to truly submit to me and to care for me and to love me the way I need to be loved as a man? See, sex is not just a one-sided thing to where you benefit and she doesn't benefit. It's not just a one-sided thing to where you enjoy the feelings and the pleasures of it and she's left feeling lost or torn inside. See, I need the woman to know that you're so much more valuable to me without sex just as you are with sex. And I need to know for myself that I'm valuable to me. It's not always about just the woman. As a man, I am just as valuable when it comes to sex as she is. But see, sometimes you have to step back, take a tactical pause, and ask yourself, what do you really want out of life? What are you willing to sacrifice in order to get to the happiness that you desire? Like, I don't know, man. I just think in 2018, sex is just one of those things. It's talking about sex is like talking about drinking water. Everybody's doing it. But it comes in many different varieties, just like water. You can get it many different ways, and you can get it from multiple people. But is it satisfying? Like when you truly thirsty and you have a good glass of cold water and it quenches your thirst. I've only had sex like that one time. And I've had, no offense, I've had good sex, but I've never had sex the way I had on one particular night to where I felt like I understood the meaning behind waiting until marriage to have sex, giving yourself to one person and being loyal and being true to one person. You have to know that you're valuable. You have to know that you're worth something. You have to know what your worth is. If you don't value yourself and you don't feel worthy to yourself, how can you expect you to feel worthy to anyone else? Stop just giving away your body freely, man. When I was really out there messing around with women, and I would tell women off the time, the most valuable commodity you have is what's in between your legs. And if you give that up too easy, how do you expect me to respect you? And I believe in love at first sight. And I believe you can have feelings and strong emotions for people. But for me as a man, I didn't respect someone that gave it up too easy. And now that I think back on it, as a woman, how can you respect a man that's just giving it to you that easy? Because if he'd give it to you, he'd give it to somebody else. But you have to, it's not even about, you have to run your race at your own pace, as I would say. This is just my truth. This is just my life. This is just my vision for me, for Ethan Smith, for Mr. P.I.E.N. This is my vision for me. This is the lane I decided to run in. This is the race I decided to run. Because I've had sex and I've been without sex, and I know how I feel in both instances. And to be honest, I felt a lot better without having meaningless sex, just for the meaning of saying I had sex. I felt a lot better without having meaningless sex, just for the meaning of saying I had sex. Like, what's the point in that? Like, what's the point in that? How do you feel when it's all done and over with? How do you feel? Who wants to feel empty or shallow inside? Like, I want sex to be meaningful to me. I want sex to be meaningful to the person that I'm with. I want sex to be appreciated. I want sex to be what is designed to be for me. What is designed to be for me. Between me and my wife. Me and that other person who I love. Who I'm truly intimate with. Intimacy. Like, I need sex to mean more than just a physical act. A physical exercise. Not only do I want to have a physical workout when I'm having sex, I want to have a spiritual and emotional workout as well as a connection with the person I'm sexually involved with. And it's cool. Some people might not get it. Some people might not understand. And that's absolutely okay. But this is my life. This is my race. This is my pace. And this is freeing for me to be able to say that I can wait. And I can take the weight of the world or the stresses of the mind off of my life by separating my mind from sex and clearly focusing on my future and my plans. Clearly focusing on the woman that I choose to be with, focusing on her heart and her emotions. Learning her emotionally and spiritually before I'm learning her physically and I miss the rest of what's a part of her. Yeah, so what? I've had sex before. I'm not a virgin. Yeah, I get that. But that doesn't mean I can't start over from today. I'll never be a virgin again. Got it. Granted. Cool. But that doesn't mean I can't start over today. That doesn't mean I can't study my word more about what love really is and get an understanding of love and what love is supposed to feel like without sex. The love chapter, 1 Corinthians 13 chapter, love is patient, love is kind. Nowhere in there in that chapter does it say love is sex. Not at all. Nowhere in that chapter does it say love is sex. So for me, in my life, sex is an option that I can go without until marriage. But you got to do what works for you. You can't be mad if you're continuously giving up your most prized possession and if people use it or abuse it, because that's your choice to make whether you do or you do not. when I first used to listen to Steve Harvey as he went through his transition and he started coming out with the books, think like a act like a man, think like a lady. You know, when I was younger and in my immaturity, I was mad. Like I thought Steve Harvey was giving away the game. Like, how you gonna be giving away the game? Oh, you just the old player who don't want to play no more. So you gonna be telling women they should wait 90 days and what a man should be doing. I was hating hard on Steve Harvey. Not that it was affecting my game or anything like that at the time, because I ain't have any. I was married. But in my immaturity, I still felt like he was giving up something. And as I got older and I matured and I understood what it really meant to be a man, he wasn't giving up the game, man. He was giving us real life, real talk. I don't know his whole life, his whole history, and I'm not saying he's an idol of mine. I'm just going based off the stories that he would tell or the things that he would reveal in his life. And I could understand and I could relate to some of those things. Because as a man, it's not our job just to sex a woman. It's our job to be a provider for that woman. It's our job to protect that woman and be priest-like over that woman. And you need that woman to understand that you care more about her body. You care more for her. You care more about her brain than her body. You care more about her spirit than her sexuality or her sex. See, as men, we hold a lot of strength, a lot of power in our hands. Like as men, women look to us to be a man. Fathers are their daughter's first impression of what a man is. If you're not telling your daughter she's beautiful, if you're not telling your daughter how much you care for her, then she's gonna go look for that feeling in someone else. And as a young man, as I was, we tend to make women feel like beauty is in sex, and then they're lost. But that's not our role as a man. Our role is to protect, to provide, and be priest-like over them. And if you're protecting them, there's no way that you'll just be having them give themselves to you freely when you know you're not giving nothing back in return. Just don't make sense. But we do it. I've done it. I'm guilty of it. I'm not proud of it, but I'm not on that no more. This is just my life. This is my story. You have to live your life, your stories. Like I said, I get on this camera and I talk to y'all. It's really me having a one-on-one conversation with myself that I enjoy sharing with the world. And if it can help anybody, then salute, bless you. And if you don't like it, then I understand that too. This message is not for you. Please, by all means, leave a comment, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm looking for them. Because I'm not perfect. I'm a work in progress. Now, I know going without sex may feel hard some days, may feel frustrating some days, but I'm not going to feed into that negative energy, man. I believe it. It's a positive in every negative. I've been without sex before. I know how to do things to alter my mind for that. I work out, I pray about it, and I just don't keep myself in them circles. What do I mean by in them circles? I'm not at the strip club anymore hanging out all the time. I'm not at the parties hanging out all the time. I'm not getting drunk and being around attractive women all the time. And I'm not saying that I'm not around, I don't see attractive women, but my mindset is in a different place. I see an attractive woman every day. Very attractive woman. Actually, the love of my life. I see her every day. Every day. I choose not to indulge in sex. And it wasn't that I was just turned down for sex and I couldn't have it. And it wasn't that I had the green light to go. But I choose for me as a man to be the man that God is calling me to be, to refrain from sex. And I feel like it's the best decision that I made in my life. So what things do you need to refrain from in your life? It may not be sex for you, man. It may be alcohol. It may be drugs. And I don't consider weed a drug. I consider it a natural plant from the earth. But anything that you overindulge in, anything that has more control over you than you have control over it, then that can be considered an addiction. So what is it that you may need to separate yourself from? Sometimes you have to make sacrifices, man. Big Sean said it. I done made sacrifices. I done gave up so much free time knowing time ain't free. I done gave up so much sex time knowing sex ain't free because it costs. It cost me spiritually. It cost me emotionally. It cost me mentally. It costs. How much you willing to pay for your freedom? How much you willing to pay for your joy? How much you willing to pay for your happiness? I don't care how good you is. Sex don't last that long. You ain't having sex every time you have sex 2 and 3 hours at a time. You're not doing it. You're not doing that. But you might talk to somebody for 3 or 4 hours at a time. You probably can cuddle with somebody for an hour or so. But the physical act of sex, nah. You ain't doing that for 2 or 3 hours at a time. It's just not happening like that. I believe that sex is probably one of the first things to go in a relationship. And if your relationship is built on the foundation of sex, then you might have a shaky relationship, man. You might have a shaky relationship. Get something, man. Get something real. Build something real with somebody. Build something real with God. Build something real for you, by you, man. Sometimes you have to be by yourself to find yourself. In the words of an author, TGS. Sometimes you have to be by yourself to find yourself. And when you by yourself, finding yourself, I can almost guarantee you ain't thinking about sex to help find who you are. Know what you want out of life. Know where you're going in life. Know what God is calling you to, man. Some say freedom ain't free. But freeing your mind, that's a free act that you can commit daily. You can wake up every day and you choose the thoughts that you have for your life. Don't spend all of your days worrying about or thinking about your past days or what the future days may hold for you. Focus on today. Focus on today and the things that you want for today. Know that you more than just sex. Know that you more than just a one night stand or being somebody's jump off. Know that you more than that, man. Value yourself, men and women. Value yourself. But men, if we really want women to be a woman and hold us down and do that old school stuff we used to talk about, cooking and cleaning and coming home to a decent house and the kids in order, then stand up and be a man. And being a man takes more than just going to work and bringing home a check. It takes more than that to being a man. I've been there and I've done that. I had a point in time in my life where my first wife didn't work. And I was providing the bills and taking care of everything. And I thought that things should be a certain way, not even realizing that being at home all day as a full-time mom was a real job. Real job, bro. Real job. I take my hat off to the people that stay at home and do full-time work with their kids. Because when you have kids, that's your first job, not your second job. When you have a family, that's your first job, not your second job. So if you want to provide anything, you need to be providing time to your family first until you providing all your time to a job. Yeah, I get it. You got to work, you got to make money, and you have to do those things to provide for your family. But that doesn't mean that when you come home that you off work, because you still got to work on your family. As men, you're designed to be the head, quote unquote, to be the protector, provider, and be priest-like, not to rule and reign and dominate over your wife because you feel like she's the lesser or the weaker vessel. And women, I'm not going to sit here and say I know everything about women, but I know a strong woman can help to create a strong man. You can't make a man be a man, but you can't help influence that man. So start by being honest with your man about what you need, what you desire, what you want, and be realistic. But before you can be honest with your man, you got to be honest with yourself. You got to know what you want. And I truly believe a man is only going to do to a woman what she allows him to do. We look for signs that say in or out. And I know because I felt like I was one of the worst men or boys to run into at a certain point in time in my life. I was a man, I was hurt by a woman, and I hurt other women. Not proud of that, but it was what it was. But what it is today, 2018, I'm a man that loves and fears God. And I know in order for me to truly love a woman, I need to love God and love myself first. Because if you don't love yourself, how can you ever love anyone else? If you don't love yourself, how can you ever love anyone else? I was reading my Bible verse today, man. I seen this quote from Lori Pollock Short. It said, the higher view lens reveals that our stories are given to us for a purpose much bigger than ourselves. So the bigger picture of your life is not just designed for you. It's designed for you to be able to share it with the world and show the world. So don't show the world all the negativity. Yeah, you can talk about it, but show the world how you progress from the negativity. Your life and your story will probably help so many other people if you allow God to shine through you. So what are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to give up? Are you are you willing to be by yourself to find yourself? How bad do you want it, man? How bad do you want it? Stop giving lip service and start giving actual service. Stop giving lip service and start giving actual service. Positive karma is still karma. You are the sum total of what your life turns out to be. Failure and success starts within. So if you're failing, look within. If you're succeeding, look within. But failure starts and lies within. So know this. Tomorrow's a new day. The next hour is a new hour. And if God gives you the opportunity to see the next hour or the next day, you can change your life around to what you want it to be. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It's definitely going to be some work. But it can be done. Believe in yourself. Trust the process. The road to success is not a straight line. It's a bumpy road and there's some ups and downs. But when you finally get to your level of success, then you're a success and you're successful. I'm willing to fail an infinite amount of times in order to reach my level of success. Mr. P.I.E.N. It's your boy Ethan Smith, aka Mr. P.I.E.N. I'm out.